Ladies and gentlemen, Danny Duncan.
All right, yes, finally getting to it today. How's everybody doing? I feel great. I feel good, aside from the fact that about 30 seconds before I hit record, my nose started filling up, and I feel like I got allergies. So if I sound a little bit sick or whatever, it's just a little bit of that. Don't worry, no big deal. Today's been a great day in Orlando. Little rainy, but that's just par for the course. I think Vice President Joe Biden was here today. I'm not sure what for, other than creeping out women. Probably campaigning for Hillary. You know, just doing what he's doing. Other than that, just a pretty run-of-the-mill day. Valentina and I went to a cool place called the Lew Gardens, L-E-U. It's pretty big here in Orlando. I didn't think it was, internationally known. I thought it was just kind of like a fun spot for locals to go to. But we were walking around there, and we saw, I don't know, probably like five different kinds of we heard five different kinds of languages. So it's just, you just assume that I heard German, I heard definitely Spanish, but there's Venezuelans that Valentina met, and so she was just speaking to them all. It's so funny. Every time I run into that situation where Valentina runs into another either Venezuelan family or just Spanish-speaking family in general, I stand there with my thumb just twiddling, staring at the ground, because they're going back and forth, they're giggling, they're exchanging phone numbers, taking selfies and stuff like that, and I'm just like, hey, what's up, mi amo Danny? What'd I learn? I learned how to say izquierda. That's left. I learned how to say left. I don't remember how to say right, but I give it maybe 4 days, and I'm going to be involved in these conversations now, so I just got to stick it out. But anyways, Lew Gardens is it's this cool atmosphere there's no real attractions. It's not like a bunch of crazy stuff. It's just 7,000 different kinds of plants and flowers. And I know that sounds kind of cool. I think I'm probably going to stay home. But I'm telling you, if you go there, it is one of the most serene and peaceful experiences ever. I mean, not only are there just, a bunch of different kinds of plants and flowers, but they're all labeled. There are so many sticks in the ground. They're not huge. They're inconspicuous. Just little, 2-inch black signs that say this is this, this is this, this is this. It's really, really cool. If you find yourself up here in Orlando, it's easily one of the most underrated things to do. And we are definitely going to go back because we got rained out, which is, again, par for the course. But now we're back here, and we're waiting to watch a scary movie, which is something that we're getting into now. I think it's an October thing. I'm more excited for Halloween this year than I think I've ever been. It's got to be the second best holiday of all time. I mean, obviously Christmas is going to be Christmas, but Halloween is just, it's so much fun. I feel like it's just almost as festive. There's so much stuff to do, and I want to watch a scary movie every single day in October. We started with one yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Arguably the worst movie of all time. I mean, that might even be generous. But it was of the Child's Play franchise. Those of you who know Chucky the Doll. Usually very terrifying movies held up to a high standard. I remember watching them when I was a kid. I actually think that was one of the first movies where I was staying the night at a friend's house, and he's like, hey, I stole this from my parents' entertainment center. You want to watch it? And it's it's Child's Play 2 or something, or 1. And they're old movies, but I don't know. When I was a kid, those were terrifying. The special effects didn't have to be perfect, beautiful CGI. It was if it was done well, it was terrifying. And then plus you're a little kid, I don't know. But now that I watch these when I'm older, and the new one, I think it was, what was it called? The Curse of Chucky or something. Ugh. I think they tried to go back to actual puppetry, which I'll hand it to them. That's noble. I could hear the conversation in the conference room. There's too much CGI now in horror films. We need to go back to the basics, the glory days, really tip our caps to, the horror gods of yesteryear. But whatever, it was not as scary as it could have been because of this, because it's perfect 1080, and it's just it was hard to watch. We were watching it comically, and kind of giggling at all the parts. And I think that's half of watching a scary movie is like, wait, why would that even happen? What is he doing? But this one was just bad. I think I've been spoiled with the likes of Cabin in the Woods. Like, to me, that is the standard of like new modern scary movies. That's an amazing movie. There is a lot of CGI, but it's done really well. And I think it's more the story. Like, it's no longer just a possessed doll or a killer on the loose. Like, that is a very complex, like, sci-fi, but not too like weird sort of storyline. If you haven't seen that movie, that's one you need to watch immediately. Second, I've seen this movie, but Valentina has not seen this movie, and we're going to watch it, and I'm going to watch her squirm, and she's going to get freaked out. It's a movie called The Visit or The Visitors. I believe it's The Visit. It's the latest M. Night Shyamalan movie. And if you read reviews, I think collectively critics think that this was the one that like kind of brought him back to not being a joke and a more serious horror, director, producer, writer. Because what he had The Sixth Sense. Everybody really respected that. I forget which one. I believe he did Signs after that. It was right in that area. It was like Signs. That one with Paul Giamatti, and then he had. It was like I think it was either The Happening or The Village. Anyway, right around The Happening, where the plants started killing people in the breeze, and there was no real kind of threat. But I thought the movie was cool because the way that they made the people, kind of end their lives, it was very, very like, whoa, this is freaky. But the fact that the plot was the plants were killing them. Spoilers. Sorry if you haven't seen it yet. It's literally over 10 years old. Sorry. Anyway, I was thinking that this movie was amazing. And it was before I even saw that it was M. Night Shyamalan. And it's pretty good. It's so good that I'm willing to watch it again, just so that Valentina can see it. It's a good plot line. It's refreshing. It's not just like spooky possessed stuff. On that note, let me know what are some good movies. And I'm not married to the idea of like modern horror ones, but I think that's what I'd rather see right now. I mean, the classics are always the classics, Halloween, Poltergeist, and stuff like that. But I think I more just appreciate those. Like, man, yeah, that was good for its time. But like, I want to like truly be scared. I want to see those movies. So if you can, in the comments, let me know what scary movie I should watch. I've seen I think Cabin in the Woods would be my favorite scary movie of all time. I'll say that. So like around that kind of like era, that genre, that thrill level. You know what I mean? And on that note, I got to talk Halloween costumes because I have no idea what I'm going to be. I thought I would know by now. When I think it was about a week ago, 2 weeks ago now, Valentina and I went Halloween like costume shopping. I don't know what you'd call it. We were trying on some stuff. It was pretty fun. But I don't know what I want to be. I know I want to be scary. I don't want to be like hilarious, Like, although I did see the photo of the guy who was the CVS receipt, and that's arguably the funniest costume of all time. Those of you who know, in the States, CVS is like a pharmacy / everything you can buy store for those of you who aren't in the U.S. But CVS, they give out these receipts that are absurdly long. Like, the first time you see it, you kind of like laugh because you think it's a mistake. They're not kidding, 2 feet in length. Even it doesn't matter if you buy one pack of gum. If you buy Juicy Fruit, you get 2 feet of ink and paper. And it's like surveys and policies and like coupons. It's always something ridiculous. But this guy dressed up, the costume was like it was, I think it was cardboard or something, but it was like 4 feet wide, and he just like put his face in it, but it ran like 30 feet down. So it was just like dragging like a little bit behind him, like kind of bent in front of him a little bit. You got to Google a photo of this. The guy who went as the CVS receipt, because it's one of the more genius ideas I've ever seen. But what do you guys think the costumes this year are going to be that are the overdone costumes? Because that always happens. I think last year, what was it? It was like you would always see couples go as Caitlyn and Bruce Jenner. The guy would be Olympian Bruce. and the girl would be Caitlyn Jenner. And I think I saw like a ton of photos of that stuff. It was a bit overdone. You had the wrecking ball Miley costume that was a little bit overdone a couple years ago. What do you think the costume this year is going to be? I'll give you about 5 seconds to think about it, and I'll tell you what mine. It's an easy guess for me because it could be a lot of things. A lot of things happen this year, but I 100% think it's going to be. You will see on the night of Halloween somebody dressed in a gorilla costume. With like some sort of rest in peace Harambe, and they're gonna have like a banana taped to their genitals, sticking out, and it's gonna be a lot of Harambe. And if you hadn't thought of that yet, well then there's a free Halloween costume idea. But I am warning that might be a tad unoriginal. That's what my guess is. What do you guys think? Write in the comments. That's the good thing about this being on YouTube now is you guys can give me instant feedback. A, about stuff that I ask, and B, about what I messed up, because you do it every day. But no, let me know. I don't know. Also, tell me what you think I should be, because I should have pulled the gun on Loki like 3 or 4 years ago. I really should have been Loki. Just the only ones that I could find. That was one of those costumes where it was like a $20 T-shirt that looked like Loki, or you had to buy like the $450 like actual cosplay Loki thing, and it was like you had like a real metal helmet. It's like what? Is there anything in the middle that's like looks decent? But I can't be Loki anymore. I feel like that time's come and gone. So let me know what you think would be a good idea. I'll be reading through all these today. Moving right along. It has been a crazy little week in the news since the last time we did podcast, and I mainly pulled 2 of the big ones, and then one just random one that I think is amazing and that we need to adapt in the United States. But first off, everybody should know what SpaceX is. I had to explain it to Valentina, so I realized that a lot of people don't. SpaceX is the largest private space exploration company that exists. That might be not true, but it just essentially that's the best way that I can explain it to you if you're like a kid. It is pretty much NASA is the government. Let's say it's Elon Musk, the guy who started Tesla, the guy who started the electronic cars. He started SpaceX to do private, as in not helped by the government, space exploration. And if you've seen it in the news, he's got these rockets by SpaceX. They're going up into space, and they're coming back down and landing on these barges in the water, unmanned, completely just like computers, like just software is written to make all this happen. And it's mind-blowing. It's actually blowing people's minds. But, I mean, that's just kind of what we're used to with Elon Musk, because he's kind of like a genius. He looks like a Bond villain, but he really is a genius. And I'm obsessed with him. Personally, I love the dude. He has all these amazing ideas that are just, they're intelligent, but they're kind of common sense logic. And people ask him about flying cars, like, will Tesla ever be flying cars? And he's like, no, flying cars would never be the option. Because no matter what, things go wrong with automobiles. No matter what kind you have, things will go wrong. If you have flying cars, they're going to drop from the sky. He's like, that'll never, ever take off. No pun intended. But what he suggests is tunnels. Like tunnels going through the sky, and you'll just have different exits here and there. And that will be a way to deal with, overpopulated cities, faster transportation. You know what I mean? So essentially we'll just build into the sky and then drive up to where we need to park. Like it's going to be like that. And there's just going to be an elaborate tunnel system in all the major metropolises. I imagine it's going to kind of look like hamsters. When you see those, anybody have one of those friends when they were a kid that like was just, they got whatever they wanted for their birthday, so they had like a hamster with an entire room with those little, what do you call them, like little connected pieces. Picture like tunnels and balls, and it was like pretty much a big mansion for a hamster. I got to find a photo of like somebody who's got one of these put together. But I remember there was like a friend of a friend who had one of these, and I was just like, geez, why? What parent would let their kid have this? But that's pretty much what the tunnels would look like. Man, I am just I'm just veering off the course right now. But anyway, what was I talking about? SpaceX. Love Elon Musk. SpaceX. They had a rocket explode some weeks back, and they've been launching them at Cape Canaveral, which is 45 minutes from Orlando. I plan on going there very soon to watch one of those rockets take off because apparently it's a pretty cool experience. Since NASA isn't doing it too often nowadays, you're more likely to see SpaceX launch one off. But some weeks ago, they had a rocket explode. And you kind of just think to yourself when you read those headlines, like, yeah, these things happen. You know, there's so much fuel. There's so many fragile pieces. They have to make it as light as possible. All the different heating sources and everything like that. These things are going to explode. It's been happening since rockets have existed. Well, apparently, there was no engine running. There was no heat source. And there's speculation coming from SpaceX and even Elon Musk himself where they think it was sabotage. Because they're looking at all this different footage, and they said that the roof of a rival company, I forget the name of the company, but it's Lockheed Martin and some other company that like builds, I think it's Boeing. Okay, so Boeing who builds planes, and Lockheed Martin, I'm not entirely sure, but I think it's they essentially build the U.S. military. Sorry. I think they build just like weaponry. That's like their thing. Essentially, what we spend all our money on is on Lockheed Martin. So they have combined to make their own private space company, but it's not as popular. It's not as forward. It's not as prepared. Like Elon Musk is running away with it, but like light years ahead. Man, I'm just on it with the puns. Anyway, so he's watching the video. I don't know how this is obtained. There's not a whole lot of in-depth investigation that's been like brought to light yet, but he stated that he's seen on the roof of the rival building there is a shadowy figure, and this is minutes before the rocket exploded, and then you see a flash of light. So he's not officially accusing, but he can't rule out the possibility that somebody fired a rifle at the gas tank of this rocket. That is, if that is true, that is some Wild West sabotage. That is children playing with billions of dollars of technology and the future. It's either that or I officially believe in time travel. Officially. Because time travel, I imagine you could once it is invented, if it has ever, it will only be used sparingly as to not alter the course of history. That's a unanimous theme in every time travel movie. You can't go back and change the course of history. But I think there could be one event in which this rocket was going to take off, and then something was going to happen, like it went too far, then it hit an alien spaceship, and the spaceship, stay with me now, the spaceship came back, they started to try and take over Earth, and then humanity was lost, and there was only a group of survivors who managed to put together a time machine to go back and stop that rocket. Now, it's either that, or this rival company was just kind of sending a big FU message to somebody who's just doing it better. I don't know. I hopefully there's a full-fledged investigation that reveals some information. But we'll see. I don't know. You got to look into that. Kind of crazy. Not as crazy as that because that's, like I said, playing with billions of dollars and everything like that. But everybody knows Kim Kardashian was robbed in Paris, which it sucks, but not because why you think I think it sucks. It sucks because obviously nobody should ever be held at gunpoint. Nobody should ever be bound and gagged. Nobody should ever have their possessions stolen, no matter how lavish or whatever you believe in. You know, I think that it sucks for Paris because this happened in Paris. There was the Paris fashion show or whatever's going on over there, something to do with fashion in Paris. And she was in her hotel room, and these gunmen, masked as police officers, ran in, tied down the. Excuse me, hold on. Sorry, allergies. They tied down the receptionist, forced him to tell them where Kim Kardashian was staying, what room she was in. They went up, kicked in her door, and held her at gunpoint and took, I believe it was almost $9 million worth of jewelry. That is so much money. That sucks. And I don't know, you can't really put a tile or like some tracking device on your jewelry. I think that kind of ruins the effect. But what sucks is Paris and France had just been through enough to tarnish their tourism industry. And I guess if you kind of read into it a little bit, their tourism industry has absolutely plummeted this year. Understandably, I mean, France doesn't really feel like that's safe of a place nowadays. There seems to be some vendettas against that country, and I mean, like, Orlando, I'm sure, is going to be dealing with that as well. You know, I believe Disney was saying something about that you could already tell this year. You know, like this year hasn't been over, and Orlando's been through a lot. I don't have to tell you that, but they're already feeling a hit from that stuff where people don't think that maybe this isn't quite the year or this isn't quite the time to go visit Orlando. You know, let's let this blow over and make sure that this isn't the mecca of terrorist attacks in our, you know, on our soil. So I only say that because it's France is going to be kind of, I don't know, it's going to be scratched off a lot of people's lists, a lot of people's. And that sucks because that's how this stuff works. That's why terrorism continues, because it works. You know what I mean? Like, maybe not directly, but you could indirectly say that 100% the, you know, September 11th attacks, you know, kicked in to really hurt the economy of the U.S. Now, there's 100 other factors like the housing bubble and all that stuff, but I mean, the airline industry for sure. Do you see how many airline companies have had to merge, and how many that were lost, that sank under, had to get bailed out, all that crazy stuff. So it just sucks when there's a cause and effect and it works. That sucks. So hopefully that doesn't crush, you know, France's tourism industry too much, because I really like that country. France is it's beautiful. They really tried. Like, you always hear about Paris being beautiful, and it's just like Seattle, it rains a lot, you know. In Florida, there's alligators. In Paris, it's beautiful. Like, there are things that are just true. Paris is absolutely one of the most beautiful cities I've been to. And I think I have a pretty good understanding of the different cultures of the world. So it's a pretty crazy story. But speaking of France, I'll quickly go into this third thing, and then I'll wind up because Buddy's staring at me like he has got to poop. Sorry, but he's got to go. Speaking of France or French, Danny? Speaking of France, train stations there now have vending machines that dispense short stories while you wait for the train. So instead of buying like a candy bar or water, it's like this receipt thing. I imagine it probably looks like a CVS receipt. Oh, callback. And it's got a story on there that it just kind of entertains you as you wait for the train. Which I think is, I don't know, that's something I would 100, if it's, what, $1, $2, I would definitely buy that. I'd buy a couple and bring them on the train. But I guess they tested it at one city, and it did so well. They did it in 23 other cities across the country, and it's hopefully that's something that spreads over here in the States. Sounds pretty cool. I imagine you can make a buck if you write your own short stories. You just start visiting train stations, and you have that sign around your neck like, hey, I wrote some short stories. You want some entertainment? Give me a buck. It'd probably be a lot easier just to sell water, but, you know, you're an artist. You're a starving artist. Get your work out there. All right. I think that's it for me. Thank you guys so much. Hopefully you're getting in the holiday spirit with all my ramblings of spookiness and stuff like that. But leave a comment with all that stuff that I was talking about. But I think I'm going to wind down for now. Go watch this scary movie. I'm excited. I'm going to tweet. I might live tweet Valentina's reactions on this movie. It's going to be fun. So Thank you so much for listening. I really do appreciate that. We'll see you tomorrow. Going to have all the footage from the Lew Gardens and then some. So thanks again. We'll see you then. Bye.